Welcome to Bias Spanish. I'm Lauren Green. It's the end of a long-standing newspaper rivalry this week. The Tampa Bay Times announcing it has purchased its main competitor, the Tampa Tribune. The Times will now become the 5th largest Sunday circulation paper in America. Well, that's a good business move, but how will it impact readers? Joining me now with analysis is Justin Duckham, senior Washington correspondent for Talk Media News. Welcome, Justin.
Hey, great to be here.
So how will it affect readers?
That's a really good question, and frankly, I'm not going to criticize the business strategy. Obviously, this is what they need to do to stay afloat. I'm not criticizing it, but it is a very sad move for readers. You know, we know that communities benefit from having a diversity of intellectual choice. We know that having two newspapers is probably a very good feeling. Otherwise, there's sort of a bit of suffocation that goes on in there. We know, of course, if we look at the New York Times or we look at the Wall Street Journal, they have very different styles of reporting. They have very different editorial pages, and that's essentially what we saw in Florida. Apparently, the Review was the Tribune, rather, was the more conservative option editorially, and the Times was more liberal on that side of things, and I'm sure the community benefited from having two options in terms of their choices. So this is a pretty obvious move in terms of keeping the paper alive, in terms of the future of print, but one that is nevertheless kind of a sad one for its readers. You know,
is it possible that because they understand that they've taken kind of the two parts of, sort of the conservative and liberal kind of viewpoints, is it possible that they will come to a more fair and balanced approach to kind of give both sides of whatever issue they're covering?
No, I mean, that would be the ideal situation. Hopefully they'll be able to move down that path. But either way, having competition in the media marketplace, especially in print journalism, which is still sort of the last bastion for local news. We know that a lot of online ways to try to cover local news have sort of failed if we look at Patch and we look at other sort of aborted projects. And having, the resources to have a good local funded paper who can tell people what's going on in their backyard and work in sort of a competitive atmosphere is good. You don't have to look further than the movie Spotlight, which kind of boiled this argument down very well. We had the characters in that movie, who were, of course, based on real reporters, trying to break the story but for the Boston Herald did while at the Boston Globe. And I think that's sort of a good microcosm for the benefits of local journalism and something that could very well be lost with this sort of merger.
Well, one other question, though, how much does the internet play in crippling, the sort of financial stability of some of these newspapers? And also, can the internet be a counterbalance to some of the papers that may be either more conservative or liberal?
I mean, I think that's certainly why we saw the popularity of the internet in the first place in terms of, being the primary source for a lot of people and how they get their media. There was obviously sort of a, frustration over the lack of choices that people had to get that sort of drove them into their echo chamber atmosphere. But right now, particularly when it comes to local media, we're just not seeing the online world really tackle it nearly as well as we're seeing in the print industry. So there are probably a lot of moves that print papers can take to try to save themselves. They could either be bought by, larger media conglomerates. They could be purchased by, bizarre billionaires like we saw in Las Vegas with their papers, or in this instance, they can move together. None of those are really ideal for readers, but it is sort of a sad representation of the reality of journalism today, particularly when it comes to print papers. It's an investment that not a lot of people are willing to make. It's a market that a lot of people are brushing off, even though they still continue to do very important things in communities.
All right, I want to thank you so much, Justin Duckham.
Thank you.
And if you want to hear more media analysis on the week's top headlines, catch Media Buzz with Howard Kurtz, Sundays at 11 a.m. Eastern and again at 5 p.m. Eastern on the Fox News Channel. I'm Lauren Green, and thanks for watching.